Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
What's up, gamers? So basically my birthday was a few days ago. I just turned 30.
It's my birthday today!
If you know me well, you know that my favorite game is this game right here, Banjo-Kazooie. Well, I like Banjo-Tooie as well. You know, they're probably both equal for two of my favorite games. So basically I thought like, oh, what can I do for my 30th birthday? I don't know. And I'm not doing Smash anymore, at least not unless it was like that video that I was beating that guy's ass, because I was watching my friend play mostly and in an arena, and then he was just getting like bullied pretty much by that guy. He kept saying some stuff. I don't know, you could read the description on that video, you could figure it out. That's the only time. But I'm still like, you know, I still like working on videos, so I thought, you know, maybe I'll do like my favorite, like my tier list for the bosses in Banjo-Kazooie. I thought that would be a cool idea.
Like a boss.
So that's what I did, and so basically I used an emulator because my equipment to get the capture card to work on my Nintendo 64 wasn't working, unfortunately. So there's gonna be like a few texture issues, because like emulators have that issue for some reason, at least the ones I have used in the past. So there's gonna be a few issues with that, but besides that, you know, it's pretty cool, I guess, to see all the bosses. I don't know, I hope you like the video. I don't know, yeah, look at this cool stuff though. Isn't that cool? Look at that right there. Pretty cool, huh? Oh yeah, one more thing though. So this tier list isn't based on like anything specific. It's just like which boss I enjoyed the most. And sometimes it's a stupid reason. I'll be like, oh, I like this one's color better. So don't expect it to be anything in depth besides just like what interests me. It's just for fun. It's just a video I want to do for fun. I guess that's it. I'm not gonna drag this on. Let's get started. All right. So yeah, I'm just gonna watch these videos of me playing against these bosses. And you know, I was playing against these bosses, and I was remembering a few things as I played them. So I think it was good. It was a good refresher. So yeah, this is the banjo boss thing. So I'm just gonna go through every world and every level or every world in Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie. But first things I should mention is that Banjo-Kazooie technically doesn't have official bosses for every level. So I'm gonna choose what maybe the wiki said, or also what I considered a boss of that level if I had to choose something. So yeah, let's begin. This is Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie boss tier list. For number 20, we have Sandybutt, and as a honorable or dishonorable mention, we have Grabba. All right, so like, you know, I'd say Grabba really isn't the boss, but I mean, you kind of treat him like the boss if you had to. That's why I would say Sandybutt's more of a boss, because you can actually lose and die. But there's no like specific person there, and you don't really like see him. You're defeating him, but you're not like killing him. I guess you don't have to kill somebody to defeat them. So I consider Sandybutt the boss. But that's kind of why they're at the bottom. I mean, they're just kind of like poor excuses for bosses. You can't, like Grabba, you can't die against. You just have to get the right shoes. I think you can also like butt slam in the air if you're flying above him. But Sandybutt, you can die in that maze. That's kind of like considered a boss. I don't know. I thought it was boring. It was a boring boss, so that's why he's at the bottom. Oh, also Sandybutt has like a theme song, so I think that makes him more of a boss too. Next one is the Zubbas. The only reason they're like right above them, I don't think they're a bad boss. You really don't have to do much, so it's kind of just like you just stand there. And I guess that you're like, oh, you're taken away from the challenge practice, you could still do that. Kind of solves itself. But yeah, that's it for that one. For number 18, it's another boss that's just like multiple smaller bosses. There's a few that in Banjo-Kazooie, and I mean, that doesn't mean it's inherently bad, but like when it's just a horde of like pretty much regular enemies, then it's kind of like, it's not too much of a challenge, at least in my opinion. But for this, oh, you can see there that I had like a jillion notes, because I'm using an emulator just to get footage of these bosses. What I think about the Mutie Snippets, that's not even a fun word to say, it's not even fun name to say, is they at least look different. You know, the Zubbas, they're a unique enemy too, that are multiple of just like a basic enemy. But the Mutie Snippets, like, I just thought they were like, they looked cooler in my opinion. So like I said, this tier list isn't going to go officially on anything specific, but when it comes to like just multiple basic type enemies as a boss, it's a little boring in my opinion, but I liked their design more than I liked the Zubbas, so that's why they're a little bit above them. For number 17, I have the yellow Flibbets here, but what makes them better than the Snippets, in my opinion, again, maybe I should just not say my opinion, it's always going to be my opinion, is that there's more like presentation with them. You know, they have this area that they spawn in instead of them just already there and crawling around. And also, I kind of just like frogs better than I like crabs. I think they're both cool. So that's just my opinion, but this is like another boss that's just multiple of basic enemies. So that's again why they're only at 17, because there are red Flibbets that are pretty much the same. I think yellow Flibbets take a little bit more damage, but that's it. For number 16, we have Napper here. I love Napper as a character design, so that's why I felt bad putting him this low, but I kind of did, like, even though I said I'm kind of just like basing these rules, the tier list based on just gibberish, just nothing really. I do kind of have some rules that I've made in my head, I guess, that I am kind of following. So there are rules that, you know what they say, like there's an exception for every rule, and I said there's no rules. Well, there's an exception for that. There is no rules, and that rule is I've made up some rules, and I guess I lied a little bit. But you can't die against Napper. I mean, like I said, Napper is one of my favorite characters from this game. He's just so strange, and he doesn't get a lot of love or recognition. I just think he's funny, like napping on the job. I do the same shit, Napper. I'm doing the same shit. Call me Napper. I think even on TikTok, that's my name on TikTok is Napper. But you can't die against him. But I like him better than the other person I was considering might be a boss, and that's Motzant. If you mess up when you're doing Motzant's thing, then you can get hurt. But I suppose I still consider Napper a boss more, because he's an actual enemy. I think Motzant is he's a little more friendly, I guess. And also I just like Napper more, and this is my list, so whatever. But I guess technically you might have to consider Motzant more of a boss than Napper. But again, I just like Napper better. Motzant is just a floating hand that you have to do this weird mini game. You know, he gets that mention because he probably is considered more of a boss. And they're both kind of like in the same area because they're really easy. They're really easy. You just gotta follow him and hit that key. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have much to say about him. Now let's move on. Alright, so for number 15, we have our first Banjo-Tooie boss. Banjo-Tooie bosses were more organized. They're more planned to be bosses. So that's probably why it took so long for them to pop up on the list, because they're planned. They're pretty good. Even Targitzan, while I was playing this, I mostly remember not liking it, but when I was playing it, it wasn't that bad. I think the worst thing was I had to use an Xbox controller, and it's not really designed to be played on an Xbox controller. because of the C buttons. I had to use the joystick for the C buttons, and sometimes it would mess me up. That's not to say anything bad about the boss. That's more my experience with it when I was getting this footage. Why I don't like it as much as the other bosses in Banjo-Tooie is that it's just like shooting something like target practice, and I don't really care too much for first-person shooting in Banjo-Kazooie. I don't think it's bad, but I'd rather play it like a platformer than a first-person shooter. I do enjoy that they put this in this game. I think it was fun. It was a fun thing, but the whole boss doing this, it's not necessarily boring, but it's not my favorite, basically. And the design of Targitzan, he looks cool, but he just stands there and spins around. He's not very expressive. But again, like all of these bosses I don't really dislike. I just like better. Some I like better. And that's about it for Targitzan, I guess. That's it. So at number 14, I got the Twinkly Munchers. That's kind of what I would consider a boss of this level. This is actually one of my favorite levels. At least as a kid, I always used to say this is my favorite level. I just love Christmas themed stuff. I love Halloween themed stuff too. So I like Mad Monster Mansion, but this is something I'd probably consider a boss because they're enemies and you can lose, and it's like it's a whole event. That's kind of like how bosses are. But the funny thing is, if you look, you can do this little technique. If they're off screen, then they don't spawn. So if you kill that first one, then run to that corner, then you don't even. Or they do spawn, I guess, but they act like they're not there. I guess that's kind of why they're a little bit lower. And you can lose, but you don't really lose health. I think you just have to start over, so it was kind of hard to figure out if this is like an actual boss. But yeah, like the Twinklies, I do love that whole challenge with the tree, because I like the music, how it changes. But what I don't like is it never goes back to that once you finish that part. So that's not really about the boss, but I kind of just like the concept of like saving these. I like being a hero, and not for the recognition. I just like being able to contribute to help. I like helping people. So helping those Twinklies, helping those little guys get there, it makes me feel good. So that's kind of like why I like this boss. So maybe it's more of like an emotional thing. So yeah, let's move on. For number 13, I have Old King Cole. What I really like about Old King Cole is he does feel like a boss. He's just like a pretty generic boss. You just attack him and he goes around like, whoa. But I just love, he's just menacing, and then you're in that dark room. It's just the feeling of it, and like how he looks at you with those eyes. I'm like, that's me when I'm like lacking sleep, and like I got like 3 hours of sleep, and I'm like, I have to do my job or go to work or go to school or something. That's what I look like, and I just think that's funny. He got jaundice in his eyes too. You see that? But he just fits the description of a boss. And what I also like is once you defeat him, and he's not like super hard. He's not like frustratingly difficult. I don't know what that timer is for though. I guess that's when you like suffocate. I've never lost that timer. He's a pretty easy boss. He's only the second boss of Banjo-Tooie. But what I also like is like he has that lava on the ground, and then it like heats up, and it's like, it looks cool. It feels like a boss. It's like pretty much how like Bowser is, So I just really, as you can tell, like I really like this boss. You would think he'd be higher, but there were just better bosses later on, I guess, overall. And I also like that he becomes like, he helps you out because you beat him. And I don't know if he helps you out because he's afraid he's gonna get like beat up again, but I still think it's cool that he like helps you out after he's like, all right, you know what, I'll help you out, whatever. So I don't know, that whole experience is kind of cool to me, especially as a kid. In the broiler room, sometimes I would just go in that broiler room, so I think that environment, there's like a couple factors why I thought that guy was cool. Yeah, you would think he's higher, but like I just like some other bosses better. Alright, for number 12, we have Conga. And I have a little bit of history with Conga. I'll get to it later. But what I like about Conga is you get like 3 jiggies from him. You get a jiggy from doing the fruit thing, hitting the fruit switches at the bottom. You get a jiggy for getting a fruit, getting that orange and giving it to the monkey. I think it's like Chimpy. I think it's just a simple name. And so you get like, you help him. So like I said before, I like helping out people that need help, so that's part of getting this boss. That's part of that boss. And yeah, as you can tell, I got the cheat codes on. I'm flying up there with that orange. But you help him out there, You know, I was like, it's one of those pictures like, I bet you can't replicate this. Yeah, you help him out, and he gets fed, and then he helps you out. He's like, okay, please defeat Conga. So you go up there, you get that second Jiggy, and he just again, he feels like a boss. You know, Conga feels like a boss. You go up there and you defeat him, and you get like another Jiggy from him too. And also he gets pissed. You know, I don't know. I just keep saying it, but he just it's the feeling of defeating a boss. It feels like you defeated him. You just feel like righteous defeating this tyrant. You know, that's like a big part of it. What I don't understand is like once you beat him, he just starts throwing shit again. So that was kind of like, that's weird, because I don't know. I guess Banjo-Kazooie, there's a couple bosses that kind of did that, where you defeat them, they'll be back there later on. Banjo-Tooie, once you defeat the boss, they're not there anymore. But here's the history I have with Conga. When I was in like high school, I was playing this game again, because I played this game before I was even in elementary school, but I was playing it again. I've always loved this game. I played it in high school with my friends, and there's a little Easter egg that doesn't work in the game, and I thought it did, but basically there's a moment in the demo version, I think, that he calls himself Congo instead of Conga. I was like, look, if you play as the ant or the termite, it's a termite. I always thought it was an ant. If you play as the termite and you go up to him, he calls himself Congo. And I thought that worked in the real game, but it only works in the demo. But basically, I was trying to show my friends, like, he said Conga, right? Like, look, he said Conga. And they weren't paying attention, so I kept trying to like, look, he said Conga. And then my friend was like, yeah, that bitch said Conga. And I just lost it. I don't know why. It was just so funny to me. So that's why he's a little bit higher up than some of them. So that's a personal thing. But again, this is my list, so, you know, whatever. I don't know. Another time when I was a lot younger, a little bit older, I consider Mumbo's Mountain to be like one of my favorite levels. So that kind of is a factor too. But I don't know. I think I've said enough about Conga. Let's move on. Now we got 11. Number 11 here is Mingy Jongo. You know, I'm gonna pretend like as a kid I was surprised that it was a bad guy. Feel like I remember walking in here and I was like, why? There's a certain animation, I don't have any footage for it, but I'll try to just explain it. There's a certain animation that Mumbo will have if you walk into his room with the right situation, and he was sitting in the chair, which he shouldn't have been, because I think I went to Mumbo's actual hut for the first time I played this game. So when I walked into this one, I was like, why is this one different? This one, there has to be something up with this. This might be like bad or something. I don't know what's going on. So I was suspicious of this. At least that's how I remember it, but I want to like to pretend that I was surprised that this boss came up, because it is cool. It's like, I mean, think about like a robot version of you being like, I'm the evil you know. I think this boss only could have been better if it was like a robot Banjo. Like, you know how like Sonic has those Mecha Sonic, Metal Sonic, there's like a ton of Silver Sonic, there's a whole bunch of robot Sonics. But what's cool about Mingy Jongo is as you're defeating him, he starts to look more robotic. And if you're a fan of Terminator, I'm not a huge fan of Terminator, but you might like that if you're a fan of Terminator. I think mechs are cool. You know, a couple robot things. I think that's pretty badass. So that's why he's about halfway here, you know. Oh, one more thing I forgot what's cool is that when you die fighting any of the bosses in Tooie, you come back and they're like, oh, you're ready for more? You want to get your ass whooped again? What a freaking dumbass. You're a freaking dumbass, buddy. I was reminded of that here because I died for the first time. I don't know, and I came back and he had different dialogue, and I was like, oh, that's funny. I forgot about that. That's for all the Tooie bosses though, so that's not specific to this one. That's just something I remembered here. Anyway, let's go. Let's keep going. For number 10, we have Boombox. As a kid, I remember liking fighting Boombox. That's it. Moving on. No, I'm just kidding. I'm eating a cheeseburger while I'm recording this. I don't know what I'm doing. So again, I'm just going to say the same thing I have been saying. Boombox feels like a boss. He's like a boss. And like I said, as a kid, I liked it. I mean, he's a simple boss. I don't know what I found so appealing about him. I think it's just enough challenge and be enjoyable. But also, there's this little like glitch. If you shoot eggs at him before he starts his dialogue, that Jiggy will be there. You can just grab that Jiggy and then leave if you're good enough. I wasn't good enough. I kind of just like fucked it up, but I tried to pretend like I was. Probably like a speedrunner strat, but I guess that's it. I put him pretty high. He's pretty much a slime. He's pretty much a Minecraft slime. slime. I guess Minecraft came out after, so they pretty much that's pretty much where they got this idea for slime, I'm pretty sure. Copying everything. Everyone copies Banjo-Kazooie. Also, the theme of Boombox is it's just so boss-like, and that's rare. Well, it's not really rare in Banjo-Kazooie when you fight a boss, but it doesn't happen as often as it does in Tooie, where they have their own theme song, and I enjoyed that theme song, so that has some stuff to go with it. That's about it for Boombox. For number 9, we have 2 bosses, actually. Hailfire Peaks has 2 bosses. Chilly Willy, which is the ice dragon, and Chilly Billy, which is the fire dragon. I like Chilly Willy better, and I will say it's a little, it's based on nothing. It's because I like blue better. But what I found out when I was playing these guys, is Chilly Willy is actually more difficult than Chilly Billy. Chilly Willy, you have to hit 12 times, and Chilly Billy, you have to hit 6 times. So Chilly Willy's technically harder. I guess I could use that for my reasoning why I like him better. But both of them together, let's just prove them together for a couple of these things. They're both dragons. Dragons are cool, you know. Dinosaurs are cool and dragons are cool. So by default, I'm kind of like, oh, that's cool. And I like ice better. I think it's so that's just my opinion. But what I also like is the peaks, the Hailfire Peaks. The peaks, they're at the peaks. You know, you climb the mountain, you see them there. And what I like, again, is that you can see both of the peaks. When you're standing on the fire mountain, you can see the ice mountain in the background and vice versa. So, you know, to defeat these bosses, you got to shoot your ice eggs at the fire dragon, fire eggs at the ice dragon. But again, I like the blue dragon better. But I mean, look at them. Like, that's why they're up so high, you know. The only thing I don't like is when they fly out, they're not even really fully dragons, so that kind of like bothers me. But that's Banjo-Kazooie, everything's goofy, you know. It's just a goofy game. So they're like, oh, they have a small body and really big head, you know. And I was like, that's cool. But like, it kind of that takes away from them being as cool as I thought they were. I wonder if that's like a thing, like being like, oh, this is cool, but it's also goofy. You can't, like, I don't know, I don't feel like they mix together that well with that boss. I also kind of just like shooting a cannon at a dragon. That is pretty badass, but like at the same time, kind of wish I like felt like I was really fighting a dragon. You know, you're just shooting a thing at a dragon, so it's not like you're not like up close and personal, I guess. But yeah, I don't know, they're cool, but both are cool. They're nice bosses. I like them though. You know, I like them all. Like I said, I like them all. I don't know. Let's keep going. For number 8, we have Terry here. And then, like I was saying with Chilly Billy and Chilly Willy, you know, dragons and dinosaurs are cool. Again, he's at the top of this mountain. I feel like that's a fine trope. That's a trope that works, climbing up there and like, oh, there's this boss, the final boss at the top of the mountain. And you're like in his nest, so it's like it feels like behind enemy lines because you're trapped in there more than you're like trapped in some of the other bosses' places because it's small. It's not a big area. And he shoots boogers. Oh yeah, also it's a guy. For the longest time I thought it was a girl because it's like he's like looking for his egg. But it's a single dad out here trying to make it. Because later on you make friends with him, so that's kind of cool because you get his eggs for him. Don't know where the mom is. Maybe he's like what is it, asexual where he reproduces by himself. I'm just kidding. I don't know. I don't think that would be in a kid's game. Maybe it would. Maybe it wouldn't. I don't know. Maybe they just made him a guy just because. I don't know. But anyway, he shoots boogers at you. I think that's funny. I think that fits him well. He got a big nose. He's shooting boogers at you. Then you shoot bombs at him, and you have to fight the booger guys. I think that's a very simple but a good design that works. Again, Minecraft was stealing from Banjo-Kazooie by using Boombox and these guys, because these guys are basically slime. Yeah, I don't know. I just think they look cool, and also dinosaur planet, and the scenery looks good. It's a good thing overall. It feels like a boss. It feels like a boss. That's it. Shooting purple boogers and green boogers. That's it. So number 7, I have Klungo here. And the thing about Klungo is you fight him 3 times. And you could technically say that's 3 different bosses. Which one do you like better? Obviously, well, maybe not so obvious. But I like the last boss as first because it's just like his final stand. It feels like his final stand. But there's a lot like that. Why he's up so high is not because he's a fantastic boss. He is a good boss though. He has like, I think there's like a couple weird phases that like is random him, he turns big, turns invisible. I don't think I have the invisible footage, but it's based on chance what the potion's gonna do that time you play him. He multiplies himself, turns big, or turns invisible, I'm pretty sure. You can look it up yourself, I'm not gonna look it up. But I'm gonna say that's probably it. Then he throws potions at you with a shield. Pretty much how all of his boss fights go, but they get harder as they go along. Throws faster, and he makes more clones or something. The big thing about him, besides him getting big, turning big, is that there, like I said, there's lore and character development behind him. There are some other bosses that are like that, like Terry. It's like, I didn't mean to attack you, you know, I was just looking for my eggs, I thought you stole them. Can you help me find them? But Klungo has a character development because he's like, he starts out bad. He's like, I'm fighting for Grunty, and he's like, why don't you just run off and forget all this? You know, that's what Banjo says. And then he's like, well, I don't know, I'll fight you next time. He's like, and then Kazooie eventually is like, every time you lose a fight against us, you go to Grunty, and Grunty beats your ass even more. Why are you fighting for him? So like, he has this whole like thing. He's like, why am I fighting for this bitch? That's like a big thing about Klungo, is like he turns into a good guy by the end of it, and he has like one final stand. He's like, I'm gonna put you to rest because you're wrong, and or something. I don't know what he says. Let me look at this. Yeah, he's like career questioning minion. He said, if I lose this time, then she'll feed me to the monsters. He like basically says like, I'm getting ugly as you fight me. I'm gonna lose my wife. I don't want to do this anymore. So you know what? I'm done. I'm out of here. But basically, it's implied that he quit his job. He's like, I'm done with this. So he's like, I'm tired of fighting. I just want to go home to my wife. You know, stop getting uglier and stuff. You know, whatever. I don't know. There's a lot I had to say about him, but it's just the lore. You know, I'm big on like character development and lore, so I thought that's why he's so high up. Well, I don't know if there's a lot of bosses with a lot of lore, but or as much as this, but that really separated him. So on to the next. Now for number 6, I have Welder, and it's in Grunty Industries. I hated this level, really. This is the Rusty Bucket Bay of Banjo-Tooie. And you know, Rusty Bucket Bay actually isn't a terrible level. It's just it probably is still like probably the worst level. I said probably a lot. But what I liked about Welder, again, like as a kid, you know, I just like that breathing fire, and he's kind of like a robotic dragon, you know. In my eyes as a kid, he probably looked more like a robotic dragon. So I like mechs, I like dragons, and he's badass, has a good theme song. You know, most of the bosses in Tooie have a good theme song, but some of them stood out more to me than others. And then he's pretty dynamic boss. There's a lot going on, you know. You have to shoot in his mouth, and it's just like you have to think, you know, like he's sucking air in his mouth. Like what can I do to hurt him if he's sucking something in his mouth? It's like you can't shoot an egg, he just eats the egg. You can't shoot ice eggs, he's just gonna melt the ice egg. But then you got bomb eggs, you got clockwork Kazooie eggs, and fire eggs that he's combustible, but he blows up if you shoot something in him, if you shoot those flammable objects in him. You know, it feels good to be like problem solving, you know, it feels cool. That kind of helped with how he was made an interesting boss. Yeah, that's it. And then he blows up and dies. I think his head like stays alive, so he's just laying there and he's like, go away, you beat me. So I don't know, I thought that was funny. I don't have footage of that, but you can see here his head hits the wall, and I'm pretty sure his head stays there, like it stays on the ground. You can walk up to him and he talks. That's it for him. Not too complex, but an enjoyable boss. Okay, so disclaimer, you could probably hear this like sound as air conditioning came on outside, and I can't do anything about it, so you're just gonna hear that in the background. I closed the window. I'm sorry. I don't know, man. I want to continue to do this because I just want to record it tonight. I can't do anything about that. So okay. Anyway, so for number 5, I have Grunty from Banjo-Kazooie. So she's the final boss of Banjo-Kazooie. And she has all these phases, and she's on top, you know, she's on the top of the food chain, the big thing, like I was mentioning before. She has a bunch of phases, and I actually didn't even as a kid, I didn't even beat her until I think I was like 13 or 14. And I had that game since I was 6 years old. It took me forever. I beat Banjo-Tooie before I beat Banjo-Kazooie. She's hard. She's a hard boss. It is the final boss, and it's Grunty, so that's why she's up higher. And it's not a bad boss fight. It's pretty fun. There's a lot of difficulties I didn't really care for though, like the unavoidable thing, but that's not so bad. Flying part is really hard though. That part was hard, but I guess that's part of the challenge. I like the storm in the background. That's pretty cool. And also the one of the best things is like the Jinjos come to help you. I've always thought the Jinjonator was like cool. He's the god of the Jinjos, you know, and he's like a deity, and he like helps you defeat. And that's why I knew when Banjo came out for Smash Bros that his final smash was going to be the Jinjonator. It was the only thing that made sense. That's like the strongest, probably the strongest attack that you semi-perform in the game. I don't know, she's a good boss, and she's challenging, and she has all these phases and a pretty good theme. Jinjonator shows up, and that's cool too, so that's why she's so high up. Alright, let's move on to number 4. So yeah, for number 4, Hag-1, which is technically still Grunty, but what I liked better about the Hag-1 were there a few things, like you go inside as the Clockwork Kazooie and like blow up the batteries. I thought that was cool. Quiz show thing. She has like a bunch of cool like phases like Grunty in the first game, but I feel like these phases were more like unique. They're cool, and they have the machine. Like in the last fight, Banjo-Kazooie, it's mostly magic and stuff, but this one, it's like a combination of magic and machine. Kind of like preferred it just a little bit more. It had like a lot of the same kind of feelings as the first one, except for the phases and in the Grunty, in the Hag-1 fight, they're a lot more unique, dynamic, I guess is a good word. And it's a hard fight. It's still pretty hard, a pretty difficult fight, especially aiming. Again, I was using the Xbox controller. It wasn't as easy to aim and stuff, but there's a technique to it. You just aim at her and you move left and right, and that's kind of like how you can hit her consistently, so you can dodge those things. But you have to use the C stick to move left and right. You have to move with the C buttons, because on the Nintendo 64 controller, it's C button. When you use the joystick to move, Kazooie kind of goes back to the neutral state. Like again, the Xbox controller kind of like fucked me up because I'm using a joystick, and sometimes it would just move me around up and down instead of left and right. Yeah, besides that, you know, that's again just a specific issue I had with how I had to get this footage. Thought it was a little bit better than Grunty's fight, so that's pretty much why it's like a little bit above it. The next one for number 3 is Nipper. I like Nipper more than a lot of bosses just because there's a little bit of dialogue at the beginning and a little history again, like how Conga had history with me. And as you can see, I've been playing this game a while. Look at this. Look at this. Perfectly spaced. Look at that. Not touching me, not touching me. Got the timing right. Look at that. So kind of like, I guess it's a little satisfying because I do remember coming to this level a lot as a kid just to like defeat Nipper. And I don't really even care for like the beach theme levels most of the time. And I don't know why, because I love the beach in real life, but I think I don't like sunnier levels maybe. I'm not sure. But anyway, you like defeat Nipper and he's cool. He's like, I'm king of the beach. What are you doing here? You come in there and you defeat him, and I think it's cool. Like he's a big boss, but not too big. And he's not on top of like the top of the mountain, but I still think it's cool that he's not top on the mountain, because I always thought like, you know, he's king of the beach is next to the water. It just seems fitting for him to be right next to the beach. But then you go in there, my headcanon was he turned into those 2 crabs, and you go in there and just do the finishing blow. Also, I have the levitate cheat on, as you can see when I got the jiggy, but I also think it's cool you can go in there and like see where he lived. I don't know, there's a lot of portions to this. Like I earned this area to live by defeating him, and then like the history is like I just felt so satisfied as a kid going in there and beating him and going in his little cave. It was just like repetition sort of thing. I just liked that feeling. A lot of things, and his design is cool. I think crabs are cool. Like I said, I do think frogs are cooler than crabs, but he was a pretty unique boss to Banjo-Kazooie because not many bosses are like him. There aren't many like official bosses in Banjo-Kazooie. Usually it's like Conga and stuff like that. So that's why. I forgot to mention Black Snippet. That's considered a boss, but I think Nipper's got him beat. He's just a crab that's black and red as opposed to the other colors, and he takes like one more hit. I wouldn't consider him a boss, but on the wiki it says he's a boss, but I guess I forgot. I have to mention him. So he's grouped in with Nipper, but I don't consider him number 2 on the list. I think he's just grouped in with Nipper. Maybe let's call him his minion. So anyway, moving on. Alright, so number 2 is Mr. Patch. Again, like as a kid, I loved his design. He's an inflatable dinosaur, and like by default, I like dinosaurs. Inflatable things, I don't know if I like those that much, but and also he's a huge boss, and it's a hard fight. You have to fly in the air, and you know, like some people don't like that flying in the air sort of thing, and I'll get to another thing with another boss, or the last boss actually, later on. I think the flying it made it cool. I just had to fly and defeat him and knock him down, because every time you hit a patch, he shrinks. Theme song is so cool, and you're just like in his domain, you know, like domain expansion. It's kind of the same concept. You're in his house, and like he's like, I got you in here now. You got you trapped. But yeah, you hit the patches, he shrinks smaller, and it's like an epic battle basically. And he's got a little winky dink hanging out there too. I don't know why that. I think there's a lot of reasons why Banjo-Kazooie was rated E when it first came out, and now they're like, oh shit, they started noticing like all these hidden things that they put in there. There's actually blood in Banjo-Tooie, so. And I think he does say bad word in Banjo-Kazooie. I think he says damn one time. Anyway, I'm getting a little off topic. And he is a pretty good theme song, but not as good as this last guy. Alright, so for number 1, Lord Woo-Fok-Fok. There's a whole lot of reasons why I like him, because anglerfish, as a kid, and even now, that's one of my favorite fish. I love the anglerfish, and I just love water. I love deep sea stuff. And the controversial part is the swimming. Everyone's always like, water levels are the worst, you know. But if it has good control in the water, it's not that bad to me. I've had some levels that I was like, damn, I really like this underwater level. Jolly Roger Bay, you could breathe underwater in that thing. I think that's the biggest thing about underwater levels is you're like, oh no, I can't breathe. But some of them, you don't have any air. I just think controlling this fight with Lord Woo-Fok-Fok, it felt fine, like controlling him. And even in like a little small area, he's in like Davy Jones' locker, like getting down here deep sea to find him there. I always say as a kid, but even now it's like, it's a cool concept. You like to the depths of the water, the ocean, you find this like this lord. He's a lord, you know. He's like the king of the sea, you know. And he's like, oh, it was scary, big scary teeth, and he's shooting lasers at you, and there's the blood in this game right there. This was rated E when it first came out, but that blood upon other things now made this game rated T. The controlling thing underwater and shooting him, I thought that's cool. Like here's a good example, like Dragon Ball Z, like both flying in the air hitting each other. You're both like super powerful beings, you know. So whenever you're flying, it feels a little bit more like empowering. So it's the same thing with water, like swimming through the water and then shooting grenades at somebody. It's like, you know, I just really like the feeling, the look, the everything about this boss is I like, you know. Even like the glowing boils on him, it's just like, it feels like a boss. Like, here's my weak point, you know. And some people might not like that. It's like, oh, they're just giving it to you, making it easy. Well, it's a kid's game first of all, but also like that. You ever like Skyward Sword when you fight Ganon, it's like, oh, there's his weak spot. It's right there. I gotta strike there. I gotta do everything I can to hit him there as hard as I can to defeat him. And I don't know, it's just all that on top of itself. That's all of it, you know. And that's my favorite. That's my list. That's everyone. Hope you liked it. I've been wanting to make a list of my favorite bosses in all the games, or those 2 games, for a very long time. And you know, I am one of those guys that will say, like, I don't consider Nuts and Bolts to be part of the core series. Like, I like to consider that one a spin-off. And, you know, Nuts and Bolts isn't a terrible game. You know, I've heard that argument. It's like, well, it's a good game. It's just doesn't feel like original Banjo-Kazooie. I was like, I wouldn't even call it really a good game. And I've been back and forth. I've played it. It feels like they slapped them on there, just the IP, so it could sell better. And even if they didn't do that, even if they made this whole game based around it, it's still not that great of a game, honestly. I don't know, I'm kind of rambling about something else, but I've always wanted to make this list, and I'm glad I finally did. And it was a little difficult to find a boss in every level. Like Banjo-Kazooie doesn't really have an official boss like it does in Tooie. So you kind of have to like choose what is considered the boss, besides like what the wiki might say. But yeah, I don't know. I hope you enjoyed this journey we took on looking at all the bosses and what's good about them and what's not so good about them. And I just put them in order of a way that I thought I liked them the best, or what had the best impact. So thanks for watching. If you made it this far, that's it. Have a good day. I'm 30. I turned 30. I'm 30 years geriatric. That's it. Thank you.